The highway is empty. Rain streaks the windscreen and somewhere ahead, taillights vanish into the dark. Then red and blue light floods the mirror. For most drivers, that moment meant the chase was over. But not always. Sometimes the car ahead was faster than expected, and the police car behind it had to be faster still. Across 5 decades, Australian police searched for that machine. Let's start with number 10. Number 10, Holden FJ. A patrol officer in the early 1950s did not chase anyone at speed. He wrote tickets. He directed traffic. The car he drove, the Holden FJ, was never built for pursuit. It carried a modest 6-cylinder engine, a 3-speed gearbox, and a top speed that barely troubled 60 miles an hour. Yet the FJ became the backbone of Australian policing in this era, adopted by forces from Victoria to Western Australia simply because it was tough, cheap to run, and available in numbers. There was no siren chase, no dramatic highway finish to speak of. The real story here is much quieter. Australian police were still learning what a patrol car needed to be. That question would only get harder to answer. And the next car started asking it properly. Number 9, Ford Custom Line. By the mid-1950s, a few departments wanted something with more muscle than the average family sedan. The Ford Custom Line offered that. Under its long bonnet sat a V8, a rarity for police fleets at the time, giving it a real advantage over 6-cylinder rivals on open country roads. Some highway units in New South Wales and Queensland trialled the Custom Line specifically for its extra pace, hoping it could close the gap on hot rod utes and sedans favored by rural speedsters. It was heavier, thirstier, and harder to maintain than the FJ it sat alongside. But when a straight stretch of bitumen appeared, the difference was obvious. Officers finally had something that could genuinely run down a car with a head start. It simply wouldn't stay the fastest car for long. Number 8, Valiant Pacer. Nobody expected a 6-cylinder family sedan to embarrass V8 rivals, but the Valiant Pacer did exactly that. Released in 1970, it packed a 245 cubic inch Hemi 6 tuned for genuine performance, sending it toward 100 km an hour in around 9 seconds, quick for its era. Several state forces took notice, quietly using Pacers for traffic enforcement through the early 70s. What made it useful wasn't outright top speed. It was the way that engine kept pulling cleanly at highway pace, without the thirst or bulk of a big V8. On paper, it looked like the underdog. On an open Australian road, it rarely was. The Pacer proved something important: police didn't always need the biggest engine, just the right one. The next car pushed that idea further, with 2 extra cylinders. Number 7, Ford Falcon XR GT. The story of the Falcon GT did not begin as a muscle car legend. It began as a police request. Ford built the original XR Falcon GT around a heavy-duty police pack Falcon Deluxe, reinforced for constant highway use and fitted with a 289 cubic inch V8 for real pursuit pace. Highway departments across the country wanted a sedan that could hold triple-digit speeds without falling apart, and this platform delivered, mile after mile. It wasn't glamorous. There was no badge, no flash, just a tough engine bolted into a tough body. But that quiet police pack Falcon became the template for one of Australia's most famous performance nameplates. Few viewers realize the fastest Fords of the era started life as working patrol cars. And the pursuit specials only got more serious from here. Number 6, Valiant Charger E49. In 1972, one Australian coupe was faster than almost anything on local roads, and police forces in several states took an interest for exactly that reason. The Valiant Charger E49 ran a 4.3-liter Hemi 6 with triple carburetors, capable of sprinting toward 100 km an hour in around 6 seconds. Its rarity meant most patrol fleets never carried more than a handful, but its purpose was clear. If a stolen high-performance car made a run for it, ordinary sedans couldn't keep up. The Charger could. Its short wheelbase made it twitchy in the wet, a real handful for anyone unused to that much power in a small coupe. Officers who drove one respected it, and feared it slightly too. The next entry moved that same idea into a full-sized sedan. Number 5, Ford Falcon XY GT. By 1971, Ford wanted a pursuit car that didn't need to hide from anyone. The result was a specially prepared XY Falcon 500, built around the driveline from the high-performance GTHO, complete with the 351 cubic inch V8 that made that model famous. Fitted quietly into a plain-looking highway patrol shell, it gave officers genuine GTHO pace without drawing attention in traffic. On paper, the standard XY GT was already quick. In police hands, this version was something else entirely, capable of running well past 200 km an hour on the right stretch of open road. Criminals expecting an ordinary Falcon 500 got a shock. It looked like ordinary patrol duty. It drove like a genuine factory racer underneath. And Australian highway police had never fielded anything quite this deceptive before then. Number 4, Holden Monaro GTS. A two-door coupe seems like an odd choice for police duty, but through the late 1970s, forces in Victoria, New South Wales, and Queensland ran Holden Monaro GTS coupes on high-speed patrol. Power came from a 5.0-litre V8, giving these coupes serious pull once the road opened up. What they lost in backseat space, they gained in outright pace, and on twisting country highways that trade often worked in their favor. Officers found the shorter wheelbase let it change direction faster than a full-length sedan, useful when a pursuit suddenly turned onto a side road. It wasn't practical for everyday policing, which is exactly why only a handful ever wore the uniform. The coupe experiment eventually faded away, but the appetite for something noticeably sharper never truly disappeared for good. Number 3, Ford Falcon XC ESP. Through the early 1980s, Ford built Falcons designed for one specific job, chasing production trophies around Bathurst. That racing know-how eventually reached highway patrol garages too. The XC Falcon ESP borrowed suspension and engine tuning developed for the track, wrapping it inside a car that still looked like an everyday family sedan. Under the bonnet, a 4.1-liter 6 ran through a 5-speed manual, favored by officers wanting direct control over a lazy automatic. It wasn't the outright quickest car police had used, but it cornered with a confidence older patrol sedans never had. On winding regional roads, that mattered more than a big number on a speedometer. Handling had finally caught up with straight-line speed. What came next would combine both, and add something Australian police had never tried before. Number 2, Holden Commodore SS VL. By the late 1980s, Holden had a sedan that finally matched the Falcon's straight-line reputation. The VL Commodore SS carried a 5.0-litre V8, tuned for durability under constant highway use rather than outright showroom bragging rights. Victoria and New South Wales adopted it in numbers, drawn to its planted handling and a chassis that didn't wear out after months of hard patrol duty. Officers liked that it felt composed at high speed, not nervous or twitchy the way some earlier V8 patrol cars had been. It became the default highway interceptor for years, quietly doing its job without ever needing headlines. But sitting alongside it in the same police fleet was a very different Commodore, one carrying a secret under its bonnet that outran everything on this list so far. Number 1, VL Turbo Commodore, Blue Meanie. In 1988, Victoria Police fielded a Commodore with no business wearing a badge. It looked like an ordinary VL sedan, dark blue, unremarkable, easy to miss until it was already alongside you. Under the bonnet sat a turbocharged 3.0-litre straight 6, the RB30, sending power through a chassis never built for this much boost. Officers nicknamed it the Blue Meanie, and the name stuck. It could reportedly outrun almost anything else on Australian roads, V8s included, catching drivers who believed a family sedan couldn't possibly touch them. Word spread among car enthusiasts, and the legend grew louder with every retelling. This wasn't a show car or a publicity stunt. It was a genuine weapon hiding inside a boring shell, and it permanently changed what an Australian police car could truly be. From a modest 6-cylinder FJ to a turbocharged sedan disguised as something ordinary, Australian police pursuit cars quietly evolved for 5 decades. None of these were built to look fast. They were built to actually be fast when it mattered most. Which one would you have genuinely trusted behind the wheel during a real highway pursuit? If you remember seeing any of these on Australian roads, let us know below.